Hello my dear students, I'm back with a new video. Today's video is continuation of refraction of light. I have already made refraction of light part 1 video and this is the refraction of light part 2. So as I promised you that I'll be back soon. So here I'm back with a refraction of light part 2 video. Let's start. So in refraction of light part 2 what we're going to do is we'll be talking about mostly critical angle, total internal reflection. We will be talking about the laws of refraction. We'll be talking about the refractive index and the critical angle relation, and also the uses of total internal reflection. So these are basic topics of our the refraction of light part 2 video. So let's begin without a single delay. As I promised you last time, and I also told you that the part 1 video is important for lower grade students, that is grade 6, 7, 8, right? But then this part 2 video is important for grade 9 and 10 because this video is made keeping those syllabus in mind. So this refraction of light part 2 video is continuation of video on refraction of light part 1. Kindly watch part 1 video to understand this better. This video is made keeping grade 9 syllabus in mind and it is suitable for all educational boards across the world. So this is recommended for grade 9 and 10. Those who want to understand this video part 2 have to go and look into the video 1 part 1. So refraction of light part 1. Those who have a basic idea about refraction of light, they will not face any problem in this video also. Right, so let's begin. So first deal with laws of refraction. So what are laws of refraction, everybody? Let's begin with this photo, this picture which you can see is nothing but from my another video which was made for glass slab experiment. So I've taken from there. You can see that here we have got incident ray, we have got refracted ray, we have got normal, and then angle of incidence, and this is angle of refraction. And then we have an emergent ray and the angle of emergence, and this is again a normal we have. It's very important to understand the ray's name and the angle name. This is incident ray, but an angle is called angle of incidence made between the normal and incident. So this is called refracted ray, but the angle is called angle of refraction, which is made between the refracted ray and the normal. And the emergent ray and the normal makes an angle called angle of emergence. So those terminologies are very important. All right, let's start with the first law. What is the first law saying? Look at this here. If I show you this diagram here, you can see this incident ray, you can see this refracted ray, and you can see this normal. Can I say this incident ray is on the left hand side and the refracted ray is on the right hand side? So can I say the incident ray and the refracted ray lie on opposite sides of the normal? Yes, I can say. So that's to start with. The incident ray and the refracted ray lie on opposite sides of the normal. At the same time, you can see that this is Q is called as point of incidence, and this point of incidence, that is all the three, that is incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal, all the three at the point of incident, all the three includes what? Incident ray, refracted ray, normal. They all lie in the same plane. They all lie in the same plane. So incident ray, refracted ray, normal, and point of incidence, they all lie in the same plane. So this is the first law of refraction. Moving on to the second one. Can you see this angle I and can you see this angle R? Right. If I take the value of this sine value of I and the sine value of R and divide them, I get my second one. So second one says that for a given pair of media, suppose here the two medium which is given is air and the glass, right? So air and glass. So given pair of media, any two media which is given to you. So it's here is air and glass. Suppose this is angle of incidence and this is angle of refraction. I take sine I and sine R, and if I divide them, I get a value. And this is nothing but called as Snell's law. What do you call it as? Snell's law, because this was given by Snell. Okay, Snell was a scientist. So what does it say? It says that for a given pair of media, sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is equals to constant. Means if I divide sin I upon sin r, I get a value, and that value is nothing but will remain constant all the time. It is going to be denoted by n. N means refractive index. It is the name. This ratio has been named as refractive index, and this will be constant for a given pair of media. What do I mean? Suppose if you take this value as sin I and sin r and you divide it and you got 1.5, right? Sin I upon sin r, you divide it and you got the value is 1.5. So suppose you change I, obviously r will change automatically. Again, if you divide sin I upon sin r, you will get the same value 1.5 again. So that's what I mean to say. Again you change I, you r will change. Again you divide, you will get the same value. So you will each and every time you will get the same value 1.5. Sin I upon sin r will give you the same value 1.5 all the time, and that's nothing but called as constant. So for a given pair of media you will get a constant value all the time, and this value, this ratio is named as refractive index. Since it was given by a scientist named Snell, as I told you before, this is known as Snell's law. What is Snell's law? Is sin I upon sin r is constant, and which is known as what? Refractive index. Moving on next, let's look at this. What you can see a ray of light is going, and then it is hitting this glass internally and getting reflected. Wow, a ray of light is going inside a glass, but instead of coming out, it is bending inside, means it's getting reflected. Wow, this phenomenon is called as total internal reflection. In short, you call it as TIR. What do you call it as? TIR, total internal reflection. Now let us try and understand. This is the direction of the path of the ray of light, this, right? Okay, this one, and this is how it is getting reflected. So for total internal reflection to take place, two very important conditions are needed. I repeat, for the total internal reflection to take place, two important conditions are there. Number one, here the first one I'm talking about. Can you see that where the ray of light is going? It is going to the denser medium. I mean, it is going from the denser medium and it is trying to go out. So the first condition is the ray of light should be coming from denser medium. So look at this here. The first condition is that the ray of light must travel from optically denser medium to the less dense, that is rarer medium. So total internal reflection to take place, two conditions are needed. Number one, the ray of light should start or should travel from denser medium, and it is supposed to go from the rarer medium. Very important. Okay, so the ray of light is supposed to travel from where? From denser, where it is supposed to go? To the rarer. So it's very important. So the ray of light will always start from denser medium and tries to go to the rarer medium. What is the condition 2? Condition 2 is this, everyone. This is very important. This angle is very important. Means this angle is called as angle of incidence, right? But this angle of incidence must be greater than critical angle. What is critical angle? I will talk about it in the next slide. But it's important that to total internal reflection to occur, this angle of incidence should be more than critical angle. So that's very important. So angle of incidence must be greater than critical angle. So let's talk about what is critical angle is all about. So you can see here I have a denser medium. This is water, right? Okay. Here I have a torch, which is a lighted torch here. So the rays of light are emitted from here. So you can see that this ray of light is emitted, and this ray of light is going and falling perpendicular to it. So when it is falling perpendicular to it, it is not bending, it is going ahead, okay, without refraction. You can see the next one. When it is going, it is making some angle, let's say 20. So here the angle of refraction is 27. If you look at this ray of light which is going and hitting this, here the obviously this angle is more than 20, so let's say 30, and the angle of refraction is, let's say, obviously it will be more than that, that is 42. If I look at this ray of light is going and it is making obviously more this angle of incidence is more than this, and that is 40, and here the angle of refraction is 59. So remember, it is going from denser to rarer, so obviously it will be going away from the normal, so that is why the angle of refraction here is more. Now look at this here, this angle is obviously something which is more than this. So when it is going more than this time the angle of refraction is 90 degree. Angle of refraction is what? 90 degree. So this angle at which the angle of refraction is 90 degree is called as critical angle. I repeat, what is critical angle? At which angle of refraction is 90 degree. So critical angle is that angle of incidence at which angle of refraction is 90 degree. So this angle is called as critical angle. What angle it is called as? Critical angle, because at this angle the angle of refraction is 90 degree. Now if this angle of incidence is more than critical angle, so this was a 48.8, now this is more than 48.8, that is critical angle, so this ray of light will not get refracted, rather it will get internally reflected, and this is called as total internal reflection. I repeat, when total internal reflection will take place? When the angle of incidence is more than critical angle. And what is critical angle? Critical angle is that angle of incidence at which angle of refraction is 90 degree. So here angle of incidence is obviously more than the critical angle, so that is why it is internally reflected. Right. Moving on to the next one here, everybody. Now we understood what is total internal reflection. Total internal reflection will happen when the angle of incident is more than critical angle. Okay, so here you can see here again, let's remind you what is critical angle. Critical angle is that angle of incidence at which angle of refraction is 90 degree. So here angle of refraction is 90 degrees. So this I is equals to C. So remember, what is critical angle? Critical angle is the angle of incident at which angle of refraction is 90 degree. So this I, that is angle of incidence, is called as critical angle because at this angle of refraction will be 90 degree. Moving on next, everybody, here we're talking about something very important. You can see here again, this is critical angle because the angle of refraction is 90. Critical angle here, this angle is obviously more than critical angle, so it got internally reflected, right? So when I is more than critical angle, the ray gets reflected internally. So here this angle is more than this critical angle, you can see that. Okay, so it is got internally reflected. Here also it might have achieved more than the critical angle, that is why it is getting reflected internally. So this is called total internal reflection. Right. Now, how do we calculate critical angle? That is something very important. How do we calculate critical angle, everyone? Okay, we know that angle of refraction has to be 90 degree. So critical angle is that angle of incidence at which the angle of refraction is 90 degree. Let us see how to calculate this, everybody. For example, let's say I have two medium, right? This is water, or let's say glass, which is denser, and I have this medium, everyone, that is rarer medium, that is air. So I am calling the denser medium as N1 and the rarer medium as N2. Now if I use the formula here, okay, the refractive index formula which I have, that is sin I upon sin R is equals to the refractive index of first medium divided by the refractive index of the second medium. So here I get N1 into sin I is equals to N2 into sin R. I repeat, N1 into sin I is equals to N2 into sin R. Here I is equals to C. So what I'm going to do is this I will replace it by C. and angle of refraction here is 90 degree at this case. So here R will be replaced by 90, and obviously N2 here, that is the air, the refractive index of air is 1. So I'm going to substitute all these values. So let's substitute here. This has become I ka value C here, so it's become sin C is equals to N2 into sin R ka value is 90, so I've substituted 90 here, and this N1 I have taken upon N1. Now let us see that sin C is equals to N2, that is the refractive index of air is 1, so I'm substituting 1 here, and sin 90 is 1. So here sin 90 is equals to 1, refractive index of air is 1, so above 1 into 1, and that's 1. So it is becomes sin C is equals to 1 upon N1. Okay, N1 is this medium from where the ray of light is coming. So sin C is equals to 1 upon N1. So let's write N1 as N. Okay, simply the medium from where the ray of light is coming, that is the dense medium. So sin C is equals to 1 upon N, and if I want to calculate critical angle, so C is equals to sine inverse of 1 upon N. So simply if I know the denser medium optical density, I will substitute as 1 upon N, and then I'll take the sine inverse through the calculator. I can use that and I can find the critical angle. So C is equals to sine inverse of 1 upon N. Let's discuss total internal reflection uses. So the first which we're going to do is called as total interreflection in prisms. How? Let's talk about it. Look at this. This is a prism. Okay, it's a glass prism, a right angle in nature. You can see that if it is right angle, we have got 90 degree. This is 45, and this is also 45. Now, when a ray of light is entering here, this time the ray of light entering here is entering straight, perpendicular to the surface. So when the ray of light is entering perpendicular, we know that when a ray of light enters perpendicular at 90 degree, no refraction, it goes undeviated. So it is going undeviated and falling onto this surface now. Now since this has become 90 and this is 45, so obviously this angle is also become 45, right? Now this is the point of incidence. If I draw normal at this point, so this will be the normal, and if I measure this, so this is the normal, and this angle will be 90 degree. So here is this angle will be 90 degree. This total angle is 90. This is already 45 because we saw that is 45, 90, and this is 45. Obviously it will be 45 only. So this is 45 and this total is 90. So this angle will also be 45. Now this angle which is 45 is nothing but called as angle of incidence. So this angle of incidence here is greater than something called as critical angle. What am I talking about? I am talking about this is a glass prism and the ray of light is going to the denser medium and it is coming out to the rarer, but then it will not come out. Why? Because this angle of incidence is 45, which is more than critical angle. So what is the critical angle here is 42. Why 42? Because the glass has got a critical angle as 42 degree. Okay, this is a plain glass and its angle is 42 already determined, right? So this angle of incident is more than critical angle, so obviously it will not refract, it will bend or it will get reflected. So it is totally internally getting reflected here. So it is getting reflected at 45. So since this angle was 45, this is also 45 and it's getting reflected here, right? And it goes out. So this is the one. Let's see another type of prism here. Again we have a right angle but then a differently formed here. Now the ray of light is incident on this, it's going perpendicular, so this is 90 degree. So if it is 90, this is 45, this angle also be 45 here. If I draw normal, so obviously if it is 90 degree, this is 45, this will also become 45. As just now I told us, it's also made up of glass, so the critical angle of a glass prism is how much? 42. So this angle of incident which is out there here is 45, which is more than critical angle. This is more than critical angle. So if it is more than critical angle, what will happen? This will not get refracted. This ray of light which is out there will not get refracted, rather it will get reflected. So it is getting reflected internally. And look at this, when it is internally getting reflected, it is falling onto the other surface of the prism. and here this is the point of incident. If I draw normal at this point here, this normal at this point, so what happens is this is the total angle is 90. So since this is 90, this is the total 90, so here this will be 45, and if this is 45, this will also be 45 here. Okay, now again I can see that this angle is angle of incidence, and this is again more than 42. So again this ray which supposed to go out will not go out, but then it will get internally reflected, and when it's getting internally reflected, is coming out like this. So all these techniques which are there, they are used in some of the other devices. Are you getting it? So we will see in next slide some devices where it is used. Look at this here. So we have got a periscope. Okay, so in this periscope, usually you will see the periscope, we use mirrors. Okay, so here instead of this we use mirrors, but when you're using mirrors, what happens is you do not get that clarity which you get here. Why? Because there are chances that the mirror gets some of the light gets absorbed in that. Okay, but here when it is the prism like this, and that's a glass, here due to the total internal reflection, when I'm saying total means almost 99.9% the rays gets reflected, so obviously the clarity will be better here, not there. So that is why we use prism. So look at this here, the ray of light is coming, this person, let's say underwater, and he want to see things outside. So here the ray of light is coming, getting internally reflected. Here again one more reflection is taking place, total internal reflection, and this person can see things better than the normal periscope. Similarly, binoculars. Here also binoculars also we use the glass prism. Okay, again total and so many total internal reflections takes place, and finally when it comes out, it comes out clear most image. Again here previously it was lens and the prisms, lens and the glasses, the mirrors were used, but now to enhance the clarity of the object, that is the image, okay, we use prism, because here the total internal reflection takes place, where the 99% the rays will get reflected, so the clarity will obviously be more. So look at this here, like how it is happening here, the rays of light is coming, it's getting internally reflected, again internally reflected, coming here, internally reflected, reflected here internally, and then it's going to the observer's eyes. That's how he can see the clear most image, because here the loss of light is not taking place, the entire light is getting reflected and goes to the observer's eye. So that is why these are the better things, right? Moving on, next one more device, we'll see that fiber optics. Okay, fiber optics is nothing but again these are the small threads of a wire, you can say, that is made up of either glass or plastic. That's what we call it as fiber optics. It's a special material where the information are being passed on, and since again we use the same technique here, we pass the information in the form of light. So what happens is these informations get reflected here time and again internally, and there is less loss, rather be very less, or very almost entire amount of data is passed on, and that is why use fiber optics rather than any other simple single wire or any other wire, right? So fiber optics has become a blessing to the human being, because the entire reflection, entire data whichever is passed on is being carried without any loss, and then it is computer converts into the form of words, and then we receive the data. So the fiber optics is the another way the total internal reflection is used. All right, so these were some of the uses, and we'll meet in some other video next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.